Hey, what's up? What it do? I'm excited today. Just got through working out, played a little basketball, got my sweat on. So I'm feeling energized and I'm ready to tackle the next law of the universe, number 4. As a quick review, let's go over the first 3. We talked about the first 3 being immutable laws. Once again, meaning you can't do anything about it. It just is. You have to accept it, embrace it, take ownership of it, and work to use it to your benefit. So the first law is the law of mentalism, right? Thoughts become things. You're connected to the universal mind, which is God, however you describe it, in your culture. The second is the law of correspondence, which is an immutable law as well. It means that there's harmony and agreement and correspondence between everything. So everything and everybody's connected. Life moves in a circle. The law of correspondence. As above, so below, as above. And if it's happening that my inside view of the world is a reflection of the outer. The outer is a reflection of the inner. So I'm responsible for everything that's happening around me. The third law, the law of vibration, also the last of the immutable laws, means nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So I'll leave the links to the explanations of those 3 more in depth. You can check on them, click on the links if you want to get caught up. But we're moving on because life is about expansion, baby. Number 4, the law of polarity. The law of polarity is a mutable law. It's the first of the mutable laws, meaning that you can transcend. You can rise above it. You don't have to let it, I don't like to use the word control you, but you can rise above. You can master your emotions well enough that you can rise above and watch the law of polarity actually take place. So the descriptive, the 4th of the 7 universal laws tells us that everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Okay, so let's just explain that real quick. So hot and cold, right? Hot is on one extreme, cold is on the other extreme. But it's on the same frequency. It's a temperature. So if you were using water as the example, you have hot water on one side, cold water on the other side. In the middle, as you work your way up the temperature scale, is lukewarm, warm, getting warmer, hot, scalding hot, boiling hot. So like, love, and hate on the same frequency. It just extremes of degree, okay? Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. It is also the first of the mutable or transcendable laws. We just talked about that. It means there are 2 sides to everything. Things that appear as opposites are in fact only 2 extremes of the same thing. And we just talked about it. For instance, heat and cold may appear to be opposites at first, but in truth they are simply varying degrees of the same thing. The same applies to love and hate, peace and war, positive, negative, good and evil, yes and no, light and darkness, energy and matter. You can transform your thoughts from hate to love, from fear to courage, by consciously raising your vibrations. This is what in the ancient Hermetic teachings is called the art of polarization. So, wow, I really like this law, the law of polarity. So just a quick recap, everything has its opposite, and how you rise above it is you understand that it's not an opposite. It's really on the same frequency. So if I shift my focus or I shift my vibration or shift my frequency from one extreme to the next, I can use the law of polarity to my benefit. So if I have a hate, I don't like that word, but a strong dislike for something, I need to examine the reasons why. What are my perceptions about it? And if something that I care enough about to understand, I can actually shift my perspective on it, raise my vibration on it, change my frequency, and learn to at least appreciate it for what it is. And so I say use the word like it, but it's to have an understanding. So you may dislike a religion or dislike a culture or dislike a food, but when you strip away whatever your preconceived notions are about it, like I can respect somebody else's culture even though I don't agree with it because I have my own and I want mine to be respected. So I can shift how I view it and accept it just as is and raise my vibration as opposed to walking around in the energy of disgust or hate or strong dislike. Like that's a heavy energy to walk around with, and by law you will attract more frequencies like that. So that's what they mean by you can rise above it. You can change your vibration. You can change your energy about it. Rising above the law of polarity. This principle of duality may appear to be very real in your life, but it operates only in the physical and mental realms, not in the spiritual realm, where all is one. God is above the opposites by always placing the all-powerful, all-knowing, great spirit of which you are a part behind every thought, statement, and action, and by always focusing on the good, even when things appear to be going bad, then in time you will rise above the law of polarity. Let's read that again. This principle of duality may appear to be very real in your life, but it operates only in the physical and mental realms where things appear to be a certain way based on our five senses. Okay, we talked about that in some of the other videos. But it's not effective in the spiritual realm where everything is connected to the whole. So if it's all coming from Christ consciousness, it's all there for our benefit in the spiritual realm, it's necessary. But down here in the physical and mental realms where we have our five senses and perceptions and imagery and indoctrinations from society and schools, we'll start to formulate opinions and it will affect how we view things. Does that make sense? This principle of duality may appear to be very real in your life, but it operates only in the physical and mental realms, not in the spiritual realm where all is one. Right? That's the first law of the universe. All is one. Law of mentalism. Everything's connected to this one true source. As it says, God is above the opposites by always placing the all-powerful, all-knowing great spirit of which you are a part behind your every thought, statement, and action, and by always focusing on the good, even when things appear to be going bad, then in time you will rise above the law of polarity. It's a powerful statement. All right, we're going to continue on. Now, to go further with it, we want to understand our emotions as it relates to the law of polarity. Understanding emotions is your ticket to controlling them. We are all emotional beings. This means that your emotions are part of your makeup, and like it or not, you're going to feel them all at some point. The good, the bad, and the ugly. If, however, you believe that learning to consciously create your reality means that you will now only get to experience those feel-good emotions, then you are in for quite a disappointment. So it's not all about, yes, we want to strive to reach for that better feeling thought, but we need those extremes, right? So how will we know what success is without failure? Like, how will we learn to appreciate success if we never failed? Just because you fail or you failed doesn't make you a failure. If you sit in that failure, then yeah, you will become it. But that's how we learn to appreciate success, is going through repeated failures, but understanding that it's necessary for me to experience the other end. So I always talk about, people trying to rid the world of negativity. And I'm going, no, that's not my aim. Like, I don't want the world to be free of negativity because we need it to balance out the positive. Both of them have their place. How will we know how to appreciate a positive mindset and a positive mind frame if we never experienced the other end of it? We wouldn't have a real concept of what it truly means to strive for better feeling thoughts or to be around like-minded positive people if we've never been around negative thinking or negative people. So I'm grateful for negativity. Thank you for showing me that there's something else that I can strive for. Now, don't get caught sitting and migrating and marinating in negativity, because then it will become a part of you. Just because it's there don't mean you have to keep your attention on it. It's like it presents itself, you identify it, then you go, okay, if I'm here, where's the better feeling thought? It's on the opposite end. Let me start working my way up the frequency scale or the tone scale to get to that space, and I will learn to appreciate it and vibrate and stay here longer because I know what it feels like on the other end. I can appreciate life so much because I experienced the death of my father in my teenage years. Now, I had no idea that having that kind of experience could actually benefit me in the long run. And it sounds shitty to say, like, because I would give anything for my father to be here. But going through the trauma, the pain, the guilt, the anguish, the anger, the depression of having that experience, it forced me to appreciate life in every moment, and my friends and opportunity and people and food and the sky, and so like every little thing, it forced me to appreciate it because I didn't get stuck in the negativity, although I was chilling there for a while, for some years. But I was working my way out of it, up the frequency scale into finding better feeling thoughts about myself, about life, about people, about everything. Gassy. So, understanding emotions is your ticket to controlling them. We are all emotional beings. This means that your emotions are part of your makeup, and like it or not, you're going to feel them at some point, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If, however, you believe that learning to consciously create your reality means that you will now only get to experience those feel-good emotions, then you're in for quite a disappointment. Don't be misled down a merry road. One of the greatest misconceptions about reality creation is that the reward for learning to align yourself with the law of attraction and the other universal laws is eternal happiness. Come on now, slide over. Not understanding emotions is in fact the reason why most people quit their attempts to transform their lives at the first major hurdle they encounter, because it does not match this promise of uninterrupted happiness. That's deep. The truth is, though, that as long as you live in the physical world and choose to experience the emotions of your mental world, then you are not always going to feel good. I'm going to read that again, because I've witnessed and I experienced that a lot. Is people will come to me and they go, I see the stuff that you're talking about and you're posting, and I tried that stuff before and it doesn't work. And I was like, well, how long did you do it for? Like, did you think once you decided to do it, it was just going to be smooth sailing? Like, we have years of baggage and hurt and trauma and, built up on us, and it takes time to scrub that stuff off of our thinking and our beliefs and our spirit. And so when people are doing it and then they run into a roadblock, they quit. And they revert back, to what they were doing before, because it's what they know. And what I'm trying to improve is I need to find a way to communicate that, because I struggle saying when I'm coaching somebody, and after our sessions are done, that they probably should continue, but I don't want them to feel like, I'm just trying to get more money out of them. But I'm always concerned that once we stop our sessions, they're going to revert back to what they're doing at the first sign of stress. Because then once that stress comes, that subconscious programming is kicked back in, and they don't understand that it takes time to really reverse that condition of so many years of believing and thinking a certain way. So it's not always going to be to the good. It's a muscle that we have to develop. And what we want it always to be good? You know what I mean? Like, I want to experience, I'm going through a tough, I don't even call it a tough time. I'm going through a time right now where I don't have as much money as I used to have. But I understand universal law. I understand the tide that flows in, the tide that comes back out. And it's up and down. So am I going to allow that to affect what I think about myself or how I feel? No. I understand that if I was on the high and now I'm on the low, at some point by law I will be on the high again. So why would I physically and mentally take that ride with it? I want to rise above. That's what it means when they're talking about mutable laws and you can transcend. I can rise above the process because I know it's working for my benefit. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense, guys. And always question me, research stuff for yourself, leave comments. I'm growing and learning just like everybody else. Feel good is not a synonym for greater awareness. Make sure not to confuse your search for greater awareness with the search for happiness and all those other feel-good emotions. One will leave you feeling balanced and at peace, while the other will leave you confused and frustrated. Greater awareness and understanding about reality creation shifts your perception about your experiences, especially about your negative experiences, and so allows you to grow. On the other hand, the search for eternal happiness keeps you stuck in those very experiences you want to avoid. I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. Understanding emotions and the law of polarity. According to the ancient Hermetic teachings expressed in the Kybalion, the law of polarity is one of the 7 universal laws. We talked about that. It is also known as the law of opposites and states that everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has this pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. So key to understand that. In other words, things that appear to be opposites are in fact 2 extremes of the same thing. For instance, heat and cold are varying degrees of that which we call temperature. We talked about that. Although they appear to be opposites, you cannot tell where the heat starts or cold ends without using the other as its yardstick. The same goes for all emotions. Happiness and sadness are varying degrees of the same thing, as are love, adoration, and hate, confidence and insecurity, calm and irritation, courage and cowardice, good and bad, positive and negative. And you can go, if you want to be aggressive, you can say God and the devil. Pick any emotion you will find that you may have up until now believed to be its opposite and hence separate to it is in fact the same emotion with a different face. This is fundamental to understanding emotions. You cannot choose one without the other. When you choose to experience any emotion, that you are also choosing to experience what appears to be its opposite. This means that if you want to be happy, you are by default also choosing the possibility of being sad, right? Because they're both there. Where are you going to place your focus point at any given time? It cannot be any other way, since they are the same thing. They are inseparable. Likewise, you cannot eliminate all sadness from your life without getting rid of all happiness as well. Once you have understood this about the law of polarity, then understanding emotions becomes effortless. As long as you live in the physical world, you are likely to experience all emotions to varying degrees. Emotions, I'm reading this obviously, are a relative experience. In other words, you cannot have the experience of happiness without having known sadness. Nor can you know what calmness is in the absence of irritation or good without the bad to compare it to. The same applies to every emotion. So, I guess you could argue it's unfortunate, but it's really not. Like, sometimes we have to go through, they say words don't teach, experience does. Sometimes we have to go through the bumps and bruises in order to appreciate the finer things. So that's relationships, that's money, that's, jobs, career, like it's everything. Sometimes it takes losing what you have so you can experience it, and now you can appreciate when it comes again, because it will come again. Right? So once it's gone, it doesn't mean that's it, woe is me. And some of us, that's what we think. A lot of people that commit suicide, and I don't make lightly of it, but that's what it is. Whatever they're dealing with, they feel like this is it. Like there's no hope. They have no outlet. There's no light coming in, and so they end it. And I'm like, well, what if you knew that this was a part of it? As an actor, I go on a lot of auditions. I get told no a lot, right? But when I hear the yes, like I appreciate the yes so much more, because I know what it feels like to hear no after no after no. But I also understand it's a part of the process. It's not personal. So I'm able to rise above the process. I'm not saying it don't prick or don't sting from time to time, but I have a better understanding of the process now. When I first was a beginning actor, every no was like a bullet to the dome. And then you realize, oh, this is a part of it. Okay, this is what I got to go through to get the yes. So let me study. Let me be tight with my craft. Let me do all the things that I need to do. So when I experience the yes, I can appreciate it. Now, can you appreciate it without experiencing that? I'm not saying it's impossible, but most of us, we don't really get it. We don't really get it until we bump our heads a few times. You tell the baby, don't put your finger in the socket because you're trying to protect them from the electric shock, but they do it anyway. So you got to let that baby stick his finger in the socket to feel that jolt, so he goes, oh, I'm not doing that no more. I don't like that. So he had to experience that negative feeling in order to understand why I need to be placing my attention somewhere else. Okay? It's okay to feel sad, frustrated, and bad. Understanding emotions neutralizes the frustration you may sense that your attempts to consciously create your reality are not working, just because you are feeling a perceived negative extreme of any one emotion. Instead, be at peace in the knowledge that experiencing emotions are part of your life in the physical world, and that they are essential to your growth. That's what we just talked about. Without your emotions, you wouldn't know what you are feeling, and without feeling, you wouldn't know what areas of your life require attention. You do not want to find yourself continuously trapped in any extreme of an emotion, whether in the positive or negative. By shifting your understanding and awareness about your emotions, you can learn to rise above and control them rather than have them control you. And that's all we're trying to do. As it talked about in our quest to grow and to be better, we just want to gain control of how we feel and strive to reach for a better feeling thought. It's not always going to be possible, but it's the attempt. Because more times than not, with a lot of practice, you're going to be able to, because you understand the process, you understand the law. It's not nobody or no circumstance trying to do something to you. It's just the nature of the universe. So understanding these laws and being meticulous with these laws is going to help you understand and rise above it when you can. Okay? It's not what happens that counts, it's your perception. It's not what happens to you that counts, but rather how you perceive it. Any experience is in itself neutral, but it is your emotions surrounding the experience that determine its impact on you. Depending on whether your emotions are positive or negative, so your perception and hence the experience is positive or negative. Your emotions are meant to be the sounding board for your growth rather than the noise in your head. Learn to rise above your emotions and allow yourself the room to grow while still experiencing the emotion itself. Understanding emotions changes your perception. The most negative experiences can then yield the greatest gifts. So we just talked about that. Probably the most quote unquote negative experience was the death of my father. right? It ripped me apart. And those that know me know very well what I'm talking about. But looking back on it, it's like, wow, that sent me down a road to try to figure out what life was all about, because I had no real perception of what it was. I thought life was just all good. Like, nobody really talked to me about life and death at that time. And then when it was taken, and it was somebody so close to me, it sent me into a tailspin, like, for some time. And, you know, I mentioned that. I'm not going to repeat myself. But looking back on it, it was like, oh, wow. I had to experience that to be able to become the person that I am today. And to seek this information and study and read and travel, and then be courageous enough and in a you know, worthy enough space within me to have the confidence to share this stuff with you. Okay? I think I could stop there, but I'm gonna keep rocking. Let's go. Let's take it here. We're talking about rising above your emotions. Be the witness, not the puppet. You can learn to rise above your emotions. Your feelings may be subject to the swing of the pendulum, but you need not be at their mercy. The law of polarity itself tells you that when you are sad, know that soon you will feel happy. And this too shall pass. I'm not a biblical dude, but I know that's up in there somewhere. But that's what it means. Like, when I look back on every perceived financial hardship, I've gotten through. I've gotten through every single time. It might not be how I would have wanted to happen, but I've gotten through. So if I know that God or kingdom consciousness, Christ, whatever you want to say, is all-knowing, all-powerful, abundant, opportunity everywhere, resources everywhere, and I'm riding with that, why would I ever get down when it doesn't appear to be going my way? If I understand the law, the pendulum swing is swinging back and forth. I understand the law of polarity, then why would I feel down about it? Right? And I felt down about it, but I look back and I go, wait a minute, why did I do that when it worked out? Why don't I just trust the process? Why don't I trust the laws? Why don't I trust myself? Why don't I trust God? And just follow along and enjoy the ride. It's a roller coaster. That's why we go to amusement parks. Right? So we think about it. That's a good example. So you go on a roller coaster at an amusement park. You get on, right? And you're already talking with your friends. Hey, you know, you're going to hold your hands up when it goes down. You know, remember, there's a camera over there. We're going to take a picture on the camera. And when it's going up, you're like, you did all the excitement of the ride going up to the top. And then it drops down. And you're not like, oh, some people, but not me. And I'm not like, oh, my God. I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. Right? Whoa. Right? We just getting whipped around, upside down, spinning. We crying. This is fun. We taking pictures, right? Then the ride is over. And the first thing we used to say when we was kids is, let's do it again. That's life. Life is going to give you ups and downs. That's the law of polarity. It has to be that way. Now, are you going to be riding the wave of emotion that goes with it, or are you going to enjoy the ride? It's a roller coaster. So I always tell people, and some people like, I don't like roller coasters. I'll be like, cool, then you can wait in the car, because I'm going to be here in this park having fun. Life is an amusement park. If you don't like the ride, wait for me in the car. Get out of my way. And don't, you stay over there, and I'm going to go enjoy this life. Okay? I just went on a mad tangent. Let's start over. You can learn to rise above your emotions. Your feelings may be subject to the swing of the pendulum, but you need not be at their mercy. The law of polarity itself tells you that when you are sad, know that soon you will feel happy. And when you're happy, remember that you were once sad. So don't get too up, don't get too down. Learn to see how the two extremes of all your emotions seamlessly flow into and out of each other. Once you can see and accept this, only can you learn to transcend the opposites and rise above your emotions. Transcending the law of the opposites, the duality of your emotions, may appear to be very real in your life, but the law of polarity operates only in the physical and mental realms to which your emotions belong, not in the spiritual realm, where all is one. Your higher self is the key that opens the door to this spiritual realm that is above the opposites and so above your emotions. Your higher self is the you that is the same in kind as the one universal mind. Gotta love that. Back to the first law of the universe, the law of mentalism, a part of that one universal mind. It does not distinguish between good or bad, wrong or right, happy or sad, not because it is unable to, but because it has no need to. It is the eternal observer. Yeah, come on. You gotta give me a high five on that one. That's just awesome. Be the witness, not the puppet. As the observer, you become the witness to your experiences from above your emotions rather than the puppet flung around by the swing of the pendulum. We just talked about that. That's the roller coaster example. It is simply about changing your perception, which means to see your emotions from a different perspective. I have to click on. Focus on the positive and know that the real you is one with omnipotence. Consciously choose to focus on the positive even when things appear to be going badly, knowing that the good will come. It must. It's law. Think and speak and act from the knowledge that you are one with the all-powerful universal mind that is above the opposites and for which nothing is impossible. In the Hermetic teachings of the Kabbalion, this is referred to as the art of mental transmutation. As you practice being the witness of your emotions while keeping your attention on all that is positive, then the pain associated with your negative emotions will diminish. You may even find that your positive emotions become more enjoyable as you learn to appreciate them in the moment, knowing that they too will pass. Beautiful. Your emotions will no longer define you. By raising your awareness above your emotions, they can become the compass for your growth rather than the boulders that knock you off your course. Life is the beautiful game. Learn to see life as a game. It is not the competitive aspect of the game that counts, but rather the willingness to play, irrespective of whether you win or lose, because you can't win or lose. Right? This is a game that you can't blow. Now, you can make it uncomfortable by who you're identifying with. If you're identifying, to the right with your ego, or you're identifying with that which you are, which is thought manifested in physical form. You're the image and likeness of God. You can't lose. You can only create. So where are you going to identify yourself? When you play a game, you prepare yourself mentally and physically to do your best to win. But even if you lose, you can still walk away graciously having enjoyed the game. The challenge that comes with the possibility of winning or losing makes it worth playing. Just like you wouldn't like to play a game at which you always lose, you would quickly get bored with a game at which you always win. I'm going to read that again. Just like you wouldn't like to play a game at which you always lose, you would quickly get bored with a game at which you always win. Right? We want to do something else. We want to be challenged. We want to be stretched. We want to be expanded. That's in everything. In our careers, in our relationships. That's what happens in a lot of relationships. We get bored. It's no offense to any one person, but our natural nature is to expand. Be grateful where you are. Be happy with what you got. But we want to expand. We want to grow. We want bigger. We want better. Now, the amazing thing is if you got two people together willing to grow and expand, no stopping them. No stopping them. Just like you wouldn't like to play a game at which you always lose, you would quickly get bored with a game at which you always win. In fact, losing is just as important as winning, and without the former, you can never enjoy the latter. That's why sometimes you got to bump your head. I bump my head enough. I'm tired of bumping my head. No more. Seek love, not happiness. In your pursuit of greater awareness, seek true love rather than happiness. The kind of love described here differs from the love most humans experience as an adoration for something or someone. This kind of love cannot be compared to a state of non-love. It does not discriminate between what is loved and what is not loved. It does not have an opposite. In fact, love in this sense is not an emotion, but rather it is the absence of all emotion. To be in a state of true love is not to deny your emotions, but rather it is to experience both ends of the spectrum and accept them both equally while being above their swing. It is to be in perfect balance. In the words of Khalil Gibran, perhaps no words capture the essence of our emotions and how we experience them better than those of the great poet and writer as expressed here in the all-time classic, The Prophet. And I will close with this. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that has given you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. Like that. In a nutshell, when you are an emotional being, and as long as you live in the physical world, you will experience emotions. Give yourself a break and let go of the idea that your search for greater awareness should release you of all unwanted negative emotions. You cannot choose one end of the spectrum without choosing the other. Your happiness is fleeting, as is your sadness, and both are equally important. Rather than trying to rid yourself of them, learn to rise above your emotions where you become their witness, not their puppet. When you become the observer, you will experience true love, and your misguided pursuit of happiness will have been transformed into a state of perfect balance. Man, oh man, gotta love it. The law of polarity. Hey, I'm going to wrap it up, man. So, universal law number 4, the law of polarity. Everything has its opposites. Everything is duality. And once it, but opposite meaning it's just varying degrees of the same thing. Varying degrees of the same thing. So, you know, the war on drugs, the war on poverty, you know, the war against homelessness, like, we're fighting against all of this stuff, trying to rid it. It's like, no, you're not able to rid it. Rid the world of these things. But you can be for something. What's at the opposite end? If homelessness is one end, having homes is on the other end. Why don't we focus on getting people off the streets, into homes, feeding them, clothing them, insuring them, getting them healthy? Let's focus on those attributes as opposed to fighting against homelessness. Just be for something, right? Love and hate. Let's be for love as opposed to against hate. Hate is necessary. We needed to experience it to understand the true value of love. So that's it for today. I'm Brooklyn Mclinn. Real quick, number 1, the law of mentalism. Number 2, the law of correspondence. Number 3, the law of vibration. Those 3 are immutable. Number 4, the first of the mutable laws, the law of polarity. Peace out. Always leave a comment, questions, concern. You can catch up with me on Instagram, Brooklyn Mclinn, Twitter, Brooklyn Mclinn, Facebook, Brooklyn. Hey, I'm easy to find. Let's grow this community. Like-minded people, striving and expanding to be better. Life Strategy Meetup. Peace.